Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. It's nice to be hearing from some of you. I know you're not able to always participate live, but I'm really enjoying hearing about your comments when you're watching in retro time. So hi to everyone who can't join us at this live time now. So we are fully into this fall transition time that I've been chatting with you about for about the last 2 weeks. And so really continuing to focus on our grounding and our stabilizing postures. And that's going to remain true for our time together this afternoon. And so to start out, I'm going to have us come into a child's pose. So go ahead if you want to have a prop or anything on your forehead or maybe between your knees and resting your booty to sit down in between, go ahead and grab that. We will also be spending a decent amount of time on our knees. So if you have sensitivities, you might go ahead and grab a blanket or a towel or something like that as well. So I'm going to have you start out in a wide-legged child's pose. So that means our toes are together and our knees are apart. And then, like I mentioned, if you have a pillow or anything that you would like to place on the mat to bring it up to your forehead, go ahead and do that. And then just allow yourself to settle into the space and into our time together. Taking notice of where that inhale falls in the body and where that exhale is generated from. Continuing with a pattern that feels both natural and working to elongate both that inhale and exhale just a bit. If you have your forehead on a piece of equipment or the earth, maybe you slowly turn one ear to the ground and then come back to center and turn your head the other ear facing the ground. And just give that space of the sinuses, that third eye, and the front of the skull, a little massage. I'm not sure what your hands are doing or looking like, but go ahead and plant the palms down onto the earth, spreading the fingers. And then on the exhale, imagine them not gripping, but being supported, kind of stabilized by the earth. And then let's do the same thing with our forearms. If your forearms were lifted in the air, go ahead and lower them down so that they can make contact with the earth. And continuing with that breath awareness, feeling the breath as it expands the front and the back body. And then on the next couple inhales and exhales, I encourage you to send your mind and attention to our hips and that space in the lower lumbar, that lower part of our back here. Just imagining that with every exhale, you're able to steady the muscles as well as the bones that are in and around our hips down a little further. This could include our pelvis, our sacrum, our lower spine. It might even extend up into our lowest ribs if you imagine yourself really pressing and grounding down. Taking a couple more inhales and exhales together here. And let's do one more round. A nice long, steady inhale. And this time, let's open the mouth and exhale out. Nice job. And then on this inhale, go ahead and lick your lips and seal off the mouth. Exhaling through the nose. And then on the next inhale, walking your hands back towards your knees and allowing yourself to rise up into our tabletop position. If you had any of that equipment that you were resting the forehead on, go ahead and place it off to the side or the top of your mat. And so I'm in my tabletop position. I have a nice bend in my elbows. My 10 fingers are spread out in front, almost as if they're gripping, but kind of like in a gecko grip, not a tight grip or, an engaging one, but just a present one almost. And then let's take some cat-cows. So on our inhale, I want you to tuck your chin and expand to broaden the back body, pressing down into the shoelace part of the feet here. And then as you release, go ahead and lift the chest, the chin, and the booty. I'm adding a little bit of movement into my cat and cows today. I've been sitting a lot, so if that feels good for you, go ahead and do that as well. Inhale once again as you're expanding, stretching into that C position, that cat pose. And then bending through the elbows as you expand through the chest, the chin with the exhale. And then maybe you take the next movement up and out. Maybe you incorporate some side movements here. And then continuing, allowing the belly to fall to the earth, sending the shoulders back, engaging throughout those rhomboid muscles, those strong muscles that allow our shoulder blades to come together. Let's take a couple more at whatever pace and movement feel right in your body today. Like I said, I'm definitely going to be adding in some additional wags to my tail and to my head. I will be flipping my wrist upside down and rocking front to back as well. And then flipping the other wrist over, rocking front and back. And then we'll meet back in our stable 4 post here, our tabletop position. And I'm going to have you curl your toes underneath And on your inhale, I want you to send your hips up to the sky as we come into a downward facing dog here. Inhaling and exhaling, pressing away from the earth with your hands, making sure that you have a nice bend in your knees. And then start to slowly straighten one leg and straighten the other leg. Walking, stepping out, and stretching throughout the back side of the body. And then let's come to a point of stillness here. Sending our hips high to the earth, or to the sky, sorry. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's do that once again. Inhale together. Exhale through our nose. Last time like this. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and bring your knees back down to the mat, and then allow yourself to walk out into a child's pose once again. And just notice here how this child's pose is very similar to our downward facing dog. Our arms are stretched out, our back body is engaged, and we're facing the earth in both of these positions. If at any time the downward facing dogs feel unsettling, unnerving, or if they're not doing the job for you today, I encourage you to come down into this child's pose. A lot of similar benefits in both of them. And on your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your knees, pressing into the earth and stacking your spine on top of each other. Let's inhale as we bring our hands up overhead, interlacing our fingers, releasing our pointers, and then rocking side to side. A nice slow and steady movement here. And then coming back to center once again, inhaling, allowing our shoulders to rise up. And then exhaling as we drop our right hand down to the earth, bending that right arm and rainbowing the left hand up and over. And as I always do, I encourage you to feel where this stretch feels the most benefits to you today. Is that looking down at the earth? Is that looking up at the sky? Is your hand facing me? Is it facing down and back? All the while, you're really making sure to settle in into that hip so that that stretch can continue up and over the entire left side body. 2 more breaths here. On our next inhale, bringing both hands up to the sky. And then exhaling, taking the left hand down to the earth, rainbowing the right one up and over. And I can already feel the differences on this side of my body. Maybe that's something that you're experiencing as well. For me, this is felt a lot more in this armpit. And right down, almost at the top of that iliac crest, the top of my hip bone. Keeping the micro bend in your left arm. Maybe you explore moving the neck. And then let's take 2 more breaths here. On your next inhale, bringing both hands up overhead, exhaling them down to the side. Let's do that once again. Inhale as we bring our hands up overhead. Exhale as we take a twist over to the right side. Just a nice and easy twist. We're at the beginning of the practice here, so my spine is stacked. On the inhale, I elongate upwards. On the exhale, I take a twist with my chest leading to the right side. And then on the next inhale, bring your hands up overhead. And exhale as you take that twist, this time over to the left side of the mat. Once again, on your inhales, you're focusing on stacking that spine. Exhaling as you twist, leading with the chest. On your next inhale, bringing the hands up overhead, and then exhale back down onto the earth. Coming back once again in our tabletop position. I want you to inhale as you bring your right hand up overhead, and exhale as you thread it underneath, allowing that left hand to extend out in front. Your booty should be up in the air, and then you're resting, maybe the temple or the cheek of the right side on the earth. Maybe it feels good for you to close your eyes and really focus on the breath in this position. Have a sense of what the tops of your feet are doing. Are they just hanging out, or can you engage them as well? Pressing them down into the earth. This will help with alignment as well. Inhaling and exhaling. On your next inhale, bring that left hand down back beside your nose, and then slowly untwist, sending that right hand up to the sky, and then exhale, bringing it back down into our tabletop position. Do the same thing on the other side. Inhale as we take our left hand up overhead, and then exhale as we take it down and under, threading that right arm. And then if it's available for you, you can bring that right arm out, straighten in front of you, almost in like a one-sided child's pose, but your booty's up in the air. Noticing if you feel the stretch in different places. For me, I can bring this left cheek down onto the earth a lot easier than I can with the right side. Maybe it's because I have a creak in my neck and I slept on it funny, or who knows, maybe my one side has a little bit more muscle and resistance in it than the other. And then take notice of what your feet are doing, just like we did on the other side. Engaging to press down into the earth with them, helping to just awaken that bottom half and that alignment. Continuing to breathe here. And then on your next inhale, allow that right hand to come back towards your nose, pressing into the earth and sending the left hand up, and then coming back into our tabletop position. I mentioned to you that we're going to be spending a good bit of time on our knees. So this is another chance for you to go ahead and grab a blanket or a pillow or something that you would like in there. So We're going to take our modified sun salutations. And so if you recall, we will press up into a standing position. That means that we're standing on our knees and the shins. And so we're going to inhale as we bring our hands up overhead. Exhale as we lower down, coming back into our child's pose. And then on the next inhale, rising up, coming to our tabletop position. And then exhaling once again as we allow ourselves to come into the child's pose. Inhale this time as you drag your hands back towards your knees, while at the same time you're lifting up, coming back into that half standing position, hands facing forward. Let's do that again. Inhale, bringing our hands up overhead. Exhale as we lower down, coming into our child's pose. Inhale as we rise up into our tabletop. Exhale as we lower back and down into our child's pose. And then inhale as we drag our fingertips towards our knees, slowly lifting to our half stand, rolling our shoulder blades back and down, our palms face forward. Couple more times. Inhale, bringing our hands up overhead. Exhale, lowering down into our child's pose. Let's take a moment here, sending a couple breaths into the body. Maybe you can send that breath into the armpits. Maybe you can send that breath into the arches underneath your fingertips. On the next inhale, slowly rise up into our tabletop position. And we'll do the same thing here, taking a pause, really pressing all 10 fingers, expanding them out, having that micro bend in the elbows, and then engaging the core. This is a stabilizing pose. I'm sure you've all seen cheerleaders. This is what the people that are at the base of the pyramid look like. It's a nice and engaged position, pressing into the tops of our feet as well. And then on your next inhale, just relaxing a little bit. And then exhale as you lower down, once again, coming into that child's pose. Inhale, dragging your fingertips towards your knees, slowly stacking the spine, rolling the shoulder blades up and down, palms facing forward. Once more like that. Inhale as you bring your hands up overhead. Exhale as we flow through, coming into our child's pose. Inhale, lifting into that stable base. Exhale as we rock down into our child's pose. Inhale, dragging the fingertips, slowly rising up, shoulder blades coming up and back, palms facing forward. Just resting here for a second, recognizing the breath and feeling the movements throughout the body. Nice job. And at this point, we're going to come back into our tabletop position. Like I said, we're spending a good bit of time on our knees, and this is no exception here. So I'm going to have you slowly walk that right foot, tiptoeing it out and up till it's almost right behind your right wrist here. And then slowly walking up, stabilizing yourself so that you're, coming up into an upright position here. My hands are on my hips. And then at that point, I'm going to slowly inch that right foot forward just a little bit. I'm inhaling to stack my spine. And then as I exhale, I'm going to slowly rock forward. Engaging throughout the front of this left hip, engaging my abs as well. I'm not just leaning into it here, you risk injury. I'm mindfully engaging through the muscles and slowly lowering. Continuing to breathe here, feeling that stretch throughout the front of the left hips. And then in your next inhale, go ahead and press that front leg to straighten it. And then flex that toe. You might bring your hands down onto the mat, stretching out the back side of that right leg. Once again, if you need some cushions, go ahead and place them underneath the left knee. And then as you inhale, bend that front knee and then take both of your hands over to the left side. Untuck that back left foot and flip it around so that now you're facing the long side of your mat. My hands are stabilized down here on the ground. My toes and my fingers are facing the same way. And I have a bit of a bend in both my elbows and my knees. And then I'm going to exaggerate that bend, going as if I'm going to press my chest into the mat. And then exhale as I straighten upwards and out, coming into a modified halfway lift here. And then lowering down, bending the knees, bending the elbows. Once again, imagining that my chest would someday touch the ground, staying in this kind of squatted, stable position. You might feel a little bit more of a stretch in your back. There's not a rounding per se, but it's a nice tension. And then inhale as you allow yourself to straighten through the elbows and the knees, coming into a flat back position here. And then slowly turn the right foot forward, walking your hands back into that front of the mat position. I'm still up on my back toes and my hands are on the inside of my right foot. At this point now I'm going to lower down that back leg, untuck the toe. And if you have that piece of equipment near that we started the class with, go ahead and place it right underneath where your hands are. And then you might allow yourself to take your elbows down onto that piece of equipment here. And I'm going to encourage you to focus on the breath. This is a bit more of an extreme stretch through the front of that left leg. We've worked our way, up from it from the beginning here. Grounding down. And once again, pressing into the top shoelace part of that left foot. That's a movement I've been calling out for you this entire class. So engage those muscles here. If coming down onto your elbows or your forearms is too intense, go ahead and rise back up, pressing your palms into the earth. And that right foot is just facing either towards the front of the mat, or you can turn those toes out, almost at like a 2 o'clock position on a clock. That should feel a little different if it's at 12 o'clock or if it's at 2 o'clock on the inner thigh and that right hip joint. Just investigating that. Couple more breaths here. A nice long steady hold. And then on the next inhale, come up if you are still down on your elbows. Untuck that left toe so I'm rising up off of my knee. And then I'm pressing into stepping back both feet. So now I'm in a plank position here. Engaging through the abs, elongating through the spine, and then lowering down one knee and the other knee. coming back into our child's pose here, arms out overhead. Inhaling and exhaling. On your next inhale, go ahead and come back up, stacking our hands and our knees. And then just like we did on the other side, slowly starting to lift that left knee and then walking the toes up towards the front of the mat here. You should have your fingers and your left toes pointing forward. And then allowing yourself to walk your hands up onto the knee and then slowly inch that left foot forward as well. Inhale as you stack the spine, and then exhale as you start to move the body forward in a controlled motion. I don't want anyone's knee going way over top of your ankle. That's a good gauge for you there. I can't see it on your body, but you can. And then breathe into the front of that right leg. Should be a nice stretch throughout this part of the body. Engaging through the abs so that you're not putting additional strain on the lower back or the front part of the hip joint. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and straighten that front left leg. You might take your hands down to the earth, flexing the left toe and stretching out throughout the back side of that left leg. Continuing to breathe, encouraging the opening of the muscles, opening of the mind. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and walk your hands over to the right side and then lifting the back toe and the knee and then pivoting both of the hands and the feet to the long side of the mat. Pardon the view, everyone. But inhaling as you bend the knees and the elbows, and then exhale as you lift and straighten them, coming to a flat back. Inhale as you bend the knees and the elbows, working to almost imagine that you could rest the forearms as well as the chest on the earth. Exhale as you lift up, coming into that flat back here. And then as you inhale, go ahead and bring your hands pivoting towards the front of the mat and then lower down that back right knee, untucking the toe. And so just like we did before, if those pieces of equipment are helpful for you, I've just left mine here at the front of your mat. You can go ahead and then lower down onto the forearms, or you can stay up on the palms here. Feeling that stretch in the front of that right hip. And then if you need a bit more space, you can go ahead and turn the left toes out to that 10 o'clock position on a clock. Just the toes. I'm lifting from the ankles and turning the toes out. Continuing to send the breath to any points of tension. This is an incorporation of a yin pose. Yin for me is a really challenging form of yoga because there's less movement. There's minimal sounds in the room. And so you're focusing on the breath and holding the poses, which are frankly uncomfortable at times, for about 8 to 10 minutes a pose. A lot of internal conversations, arguments, I might say, within the mind. And then if you are down on your elbows, go ahead and come up onto the hands. And then walk the left toe in and then swing it back and around, allowing yourself to come back into that child's pose position here once again. Breathing slow and steady. And then at this point, I'm going to have you bring your hands alongside your legs, almost as if you could grab the heels. So your forehead is still on the mat, your knees are together in a traditional child's pose, but your hands are wrapped around the body here. And then take a grasp of the heels here. And then just breathe in this position. The pulling of the heels might engage different parts of the back body, feeling the stretch along that side. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and slowly start to lift the hips. Your hands are still on your heels. Your forehead is on the mat. And then you're just stretching out as you roll a little bit forward towards the top of your head. It's like a nice bit of tension. The tension is coming from the will to continue to roll forward, but yet being held in place by your hands on your heels. Let's take another breath here. And then on the exhale, slowly releasing down, coming into that modified child's pose. But this time, allowing the hands to flop out and our palms are facing the sky. So this is just a different orientation for the forearms, elbows, the whole way up into the shoulder joints. And then let's take another grip on the heels. On our inhale, start to lift the hips, rocking forward and stabilizing yourself at a position that there's equal tension between the top of your head as well as the pull on your heels. Feeling that stretch along the entire back body. Remembering to breathe. Let's take one more breath here together. And then exhale as you lower down once again, allowing the hands and the palms to lift to the sky. And then on your next inhale, bring your hands back towards your ears and slowly press up, stacking the spine. Coming and allowing yourself to rock to one side and then bringing the feet out in front of you, giving them a little bit of a bounce. I'm moving my equipment off to the side, bouncing throughout my legs here. And then planting the feet on the earth and slowly lowering the top body down onto the ground. On your inhale, bringing your knees into your chest, rocking side to side, massaging throughout the lower back, Maybe you expand outwards from that movement and take some circles on the ceiling with your knees. And then go ahead and plant your feet back onto the earth. And then inhale as you take the right leg up, grabbing behind the hamstring just to stabilize it. And then taking some ankle rolls, pointing and flexing that foot. We spend a good bit of time in our child's pose, so this ankle stretch should feel nice for you. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and allow that leg to straighten, flexing the foot. And then exhale as you bend it, allowing the ankle to stretch out and over that right knee. So I'm coming into a reclined figure 4 here. Once again, encouraging this opening in the hips, that point of stability between our top and our bottom body. And it's been doing a lot to stabilize us in general this year, but specifically in this autumn time of year. Encouraging some additional stretch by pressing the left hand into the left hip, grounding down, and then doing the opposite with the right hand. The right hand is on the inner right thigh, pressing outwards. A couple more breaths here. And then allowing on the next inhale that knee to come into the chest, and then exhaling as you plant it back down on the earth beside the left. On your next inhale, send that left leg up to the sky, the foot in the air, and then just take a grasp behind the leg to stabilize it. Taking those same ankle rolls, pointing and flexing the toe with the left foot. And then when you feel ready for it, go ahead and cross that left ankle out over the right knee, coming into a figure 4 on the other side. And then just investigating how this stretch feels on this side. Does it open wide in comparison, or does it need a bit more encouragement? Rounding down through the right palm on the right iliac crest, and then pressing out with the inner thigh and the left palm. Continuing to send your breath to any little bits that could use the love. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and bring that knee, the left knee into the chest. Exhale as you press it down onto the mat, kneading that right foot. We'll do 2 bridges here, but I would love if you would make them a supported bridge. And so if you have that pillow, that blanket, or a block, go ahead and grab it. And then just set it off to the side here. So our feet are planted down on the mat, nice and parallel. And then our hands are also aligned. And then on our inhale, let's press into the earth with our feet. And go ahead and lift the hips to the sky. Also, if you have that piece of equipment, you might lift it up, place it underneath the booty, the top of the booty specifically, that point in which the top and bottom body kind of intersect right above the hips there, that sacrum. That's the name of that nice big flat bone in there. And then you can just allow your body to rest on it. You can place your hands down alongside your body on the mat. And just allow yourself to rest in this position. Maybe you closed your eyes, allowing the engagement throughout these muscles to be supported by your equipment underneath. If you don't have equipment though, go ahead and slowly lower down onto the earth. If you are supported, you can stay up. Those that aren't using equipment will come back up into a second bridge here. So make sure that your feet are aligned, pressing into the earth, sending the hips to the sky. Engaging throughout the booty, the inner thighs, and the abs. And then lowering down if you don't have the piece of equipment. Those that do have the equipment, you are free to stay in this position if you would like, or you're also welcome to come down. You'll lift up a little bit higher and then pull out the equipment. And then we will all meet with our knees in towards our chest, rocking side to side. On your inhale, bring the knees in towards the chest and then take them out and over to the left side, kind of jutting out straight from the hips and allowing the right hand to open out as if you're a field goal post on the top body. If it feels okay, you can go ahead and close your eyes, sensing the breath as it moves throughout the body. Noticing how you might feel a little different in comparison to the start of class. If you don't, that's okay too. Taking a couple more long and healing breaths. And then on the next inhale, go ahead and collect your knees, bringing them back to center, rocking side to side or taking those rolls with them, drawing the circles on the ceiling. And then once again, on the inhale, bringing the knees and nose together. And then as you exhale, slowly taking the knees over to the right side, allowing the opening throughout the twist. And then that left hand and arm are in that goalpost position, stretching out and around. Breathing in this position here. Couple more breaths. And then on the next inhale, collecting your knees and helping them back into the center of the mat, placing the feet down onto the earth, and then slowly extending one leg and the other leg out in front. Inhaling as you bring your arms up overhead, stretching out through the toes like an early morning wake up. And then exhale as you allow your hands to come down to the side of the body, palms facing up, closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, and allowing the feet to open out to the side. Resting here in Shavasana. Let's take 2 inhales together. Inhaling through the nose, opening the mouth, exhaling. Doing that once again, inhaling through the nose. Open the mouth and exhale. Rest here, knowing that I'll watch the time and the space so that you can just be. Start to lengthen the inhale and the exhale. Sending some movement to your fingers and toes. And then rolling out through the ankles and the wrists. If it feels okay for you, you can go ahead and keep your eyes closed as you roll over onto the right side, coming into that fetal position. And then allowing yourself to rest in this position, taking a couple breaths here as well. And then when it feels comfortable for you, pressing into the earth with that top left hand, slowly rolling up, stacking the spine, head and neck last to rise, and coming into a comfortable seat. Keeping your eyes closed if that's okay for you, or have a soft gaze out in front if you'd like a little bit more orienting. Bringing your hands together at your chest, stacking the spine. With every inhale, imagine growing a little taller. With every exhale, keeping that height, but grounding down. Once again, on the inhale, stacking the spine, growing a little taller. And the exhale, keeping the height, the grounding down. If you'd like to join me on an inhale for Om, let's inhale together. Bringing our knuckles up to our third eye and bowing forward, sealing our time together. Rising up, thanking yourself for making time for your practice today. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye.